And we welcome you to Season 2, Episode 5 of Wilk and Wiss, your bi-weekly breakdown of Utah athletes in the National Football League. I am one co-host, Tanner Wilkinson.
I am the other.
Cole is the other. He's the D'Angelo Vickers to my Michael Scott, if you will. Except you don't have microphonophobia. I would hope not. At
I like the old
co-manager,
and co-manager gig.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. Got a great guest today. Joining us, Buffalo Bills fan extraordinaire, Mr. Brant Stevens joins the show for the first time.
That's right, baby.
And comes on a good day. Bills are a Thursday night football game. They're also coming off a win against one of our two teams. Thought this would be a good week to have Brant on the show.
Almost like we planned it.
Almost, yeah.
Right.
And I feel like we've made it, Cole, because we've got someone joining the show via their phone. This is like on Up and Adams when she's got someone coming in via, just their phone in their car.
Just in the car, let's go. All right, let's tune in.
Let's do the.
I feel like it's the Pat McAfee show where literally every guest is like on their phone. They're just an executive driving around doing their thing.
Well, there you have it. Maybe one day we'll get Brant to sell some ad space for the show. He's pretty good at that. So, I know this story pretty well at this point since we've been friends for such a long time, but our listeners want to know why the Buffalo Bills?
It's a good question. This is a really good question. Well, first, I guess it starts off with back when Madden first came out. I guess not first came out. I'm not that old, but when Madden was in its infancy, the Bills were legit. And that is actually the start of the Bills fandom. Yeah, because I've loved them ever since they've sucked really bad. And I mean, it's not like they're just kind of like tearing my heart out now every year, but that's the main reason is Madden.
It's a good reason.
It's not
as
bad
good
reason
as anyone else.
Yeah. And where Utah is such a melting pot, you guys almost, though, your family were kind of, in a way, Broncos fans. In a very roundabout way. Like, if you had to pick a team when you guys were young, you'd probably just say Denver. Your youngest brother still kind of claims the Broncos, kind of. Yeah,
I mean, I have plenty of cousins that still claim the Broncos. I've got my little brother still claims the Broncos. Yeah, so I guess you could say, we're kind of we were kind of grew up Broncos fans, but Utah is the melting pot of NFL football because we really don't have anyone. So
stir the pot, stir the melting pot, Pam. You and I talked a lot this offseason in our own offices about Stephon Diggs and that whole situation. I was your shoulder to cry on when the trade went down, per se. Vibes seem good, though. This seems like it was a win-win trade for Buffalo and Houston. You kind of cleanse that locker room a little bit for the Bills, even though you maybe don't have that go-to guy anymore. Meanwhile, the Texans got deeper at receiver and got maybe a veteran guy they'd been lacking. Your thoughts from then to now on the Stephon Diggs move?
Yeah, I mean, the move was the best thing I can compare it to for Utah people is Donovan Mitchell. It's like you didn't know whether to frame his jersey or burn it, right? And so at least that's how I felt with Stephon Diggs. And so I'm still trying to decide. I don't really know. I love Stephon Diggs, but there was a lot of drama in the locker room. But since then, I would say we're in a better spot than we were with Stephon Diggs. It just seems like the vibes in Buffalo. Obviously, I follow like every social media account that follows the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to a game in November, really excited for. But the overall vibes of the locker room and just everyone is like nobody cares really who gets the ball. Nobody cares, being the star. Obviously, we know Josh Allen is going to carry the team on their back as per usual, but the supporting cast is an actual supporting cast.
I like that. I like that term. Literally putting it in the frame there. Yeah, you're going to a game November?
Correct.
in November.
November 3rd or 4th.
The rematch of tonight's game.
That's right. Yep. Going to the Dolphins. So, and I don't know. It'll be awesome. I'm excited for it.
You got a lot of Utah connections on this Bills squad. Taron Johnson's been a staple there for a while now. He's a fellow Weber State alum for you too.
That's right.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then also Dalton, Kincaid, and Cole Bishop too, with guys that have been drafted by the team in the last couple of years. Taron got hurt, which is a bummer. Week 1 against the Cards. But speaking of that supporting cast, I feel like this is a chance for Dalton Kincaid to really, really shine. What were your thoughts on his week 1? Well, not necessarily a letdown, but not maybe what you expected his role to be after a week.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of underwhelming. The ball was spaced out really well. I think Josh Allen had 18 completions and threw it to 9 guys. So it wasn't necessarily like anyone stood out other than like Khalil Shakir's touchdown. But it just seemed like I would have loved to see more Dalton Kincaid go down rather than I think he only had 1 catch, if I'm correct.
Let's do it. Let's get to the picks. Brant, you're our first guest to do the pick'em. Last year, our first guest won. He had the best record. Jacob Habel joined us week 2 last year, had the best record, and got that $25 Visa gift card, courtesy of Wilk and Wiss. So let's kick it off. Tonight's matchup, Buffalo at Miami. Brant's Bills in South Beach. Miami's a 2.5-point favorite. Some injury questions in the backfield for Miami. I like Buffalo tonight. I think both these teams started slow a week ago. I thought Buffalo's turnaround was a little bit more of a momentum thing maybe than Miami's. I expect a close game tonight, though. I'm going to take the Bills on the road.
So this is a problem with Tanner. Tanner loses our pick'em because he tries to suck up to the guests. I'm going with the team I think is going to win, and that's the Miami Dolphins.
All right. Here's my reasons for why the Bills are going to win. First off, Josh Allen owns Miami. He's 11-2 against Miami. Also, we're playing in the dark, a night game, and
not as hot.
That's the biggest complaint from Buffalo about Miami is playing in the middle of the day because the sun hits them perfect, and they hate it. And so that's really what messes with our minds. But since it is a night game, Bills are going to take it.
There you go. That's some analysis. I'll take it. The New Orleans Saints play at Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys. Go ahead. This is 2 1-0 teams that looked very, very impressive in their first. The Saints did it against what could be the worst team in all of football. Dallas did it against maybe the best defense in football coming off of last year. I'm going to take Dallas in this one.
Yeah, I like Dallas at home. Now that all the contract drama is done, a good week of practice where the Saints are dealing with hurricane issues again in New Orleans. Players were sent home early from practice yesterday. Not sure where their minds are going to be at. I take Dallas. I just think they're the better football team.
I am in agreement. They're better.
3 for Dallas. This is what I'm going bold this week, Cole, on my survivor pool. I'm taking the Detroit Lions over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm still big on Tampa. Baker was great last week. I just think Detroit's one of these teams, if they stay healthy, they're going to get better and better every week, just given how that offensive line looked last week. Penei Sewell was my MVP from last week from guys that represent the state of Utah. I like Detroit big in this one.
I'm taking Detroit as well.
That's a 3 in a row for me and Tanner here. So I'm going Detroit, the brand new Lions.
Next up, we got a battle of 2 of Tanner's brothers' teams. It is going to be the Colts versus the Green Bay Packers, the Malik Willis Green Bay Packers, unfortunately. And I think for that reason, and also Anthony Richardson, looked spectacular on a couple big throws, but still could fill in the consistency and the accuracy in between. I think he can start to get there. Green Bay's defense did look decent, but they're still coalescing with the new defensive coordinator. I'm going to take Indianapolis.
So my brother is going to be at this game. He's going to Alabama, Wisconsin Saturday, which is pretty cool. And Alabama is probably going to squash Wisconsin. So I'm going to be nice and pick the Packers to win. I think a full week of practice does Malik Willis a lot of good. There's not a lot of film on him for Indianapolis to study. I think Green Bay wins in a very close game, uh, but the Packers still might be in some trouble in the long term. But I'm taking Green Bay.
Yeah, I can't take Green Bay. Um, with Jordan Love being hurt and Malik Willis not even be able to get a Hail Mary throw off, you know, I can't take him. So
The
going the other way.
Steelers have the Steelers have in the past, in preparation for the Ravens game, brought in like a practice squad quarterback and or sometimes a wide receiver, or someone that can just run the way that Lamar Jackson can run to prep their defense for the week. There's nothing that Malik Willis brings that Indy's defense is not seeing every day in and day out with Anthony Richardson, just at a
Fair.
much lower degree. So they're not going to be able to surprise you. Just because we haven't seen Malik Willis doesn't mean they're not prepared for guy that runs okay and is inaccurate. Indy for
And
sure.
me and Tanner looked at the PFF rankings for the interior line, O line of the Colts, and they were all of them were like top ranked. So they're doing well. I think yeah, I feel like you have to go with the Colts. I'm sorry, Tanner.
It's my upset pick of the week. I've got another good one coming up here. This should be interesting. The Jets, who did not look very good on Monday, against the Titans, who did not look very good on Sunday. I think the Jets didn't look as bad as the Titans, so I'm going to take the Jets this week.
Man, I'm all for the Jets just imploding and being terrible and Aaron Rodgers' career basically being over, but it's probably not going to happen this week. They get it to turn around against a floundering Titans team that can be extremely roller coastery too. We saw that where they come out to the huge lead, and then even though their defense held Chicago's offense from doing anything, Will Levis just gave the ball back to him. And so I'm going to take the Jets because the Jets have the kind of defense that can take advantage of that.
Yeah, I hate the Jets more than anyone else or anyone could. But I'm gonna have to go with the Jets. I think it's gonna be one of those games where it's like 10-7,
Mm.
something really boring, just kind of like meh.
This is the Sam Darnold revenge game. Minnesota versus San Francisco, the team that just let him walk away and get into a similar Shanahan kind of system. But San Francisco looked amazing against a Jets team that still could be decent. We just got done talking about. I'm going to take San Francisco.
Yeah, this is one of the easier picks this week as well. No Christian McCaffrey again, but that proved to not be a problem against what was a good defense a year ago in the Jets. Uh, yeah, the Niners should win. I don't think Sam Darnold is going to have anywhere remotely close to a performance yet. There are a lot of people that suddenly are high on him, that he's the new Baker Mayfield. Look, Baker Mayfield at least had one good season before the fall in Cleveland and the fall in Carolina and the rise in Tampa. Sam Darnold's never had a good season in his career. So, sure, like this is his year because he's already had one good game, which is more than maybe he's had in his whole career. Niners win big, unfortunately.
Yep, I'm going with the Niners. I don't think CMC being gone. I mean, you throw anyone back there, I think they're going to do just fine with the offensive line they have, and they look good too. So
Purdy good. Purdy good. Seattle is at New England. The soft schedule for Seattle continues because I don't think Seattle's that great, but the New England kind of it was an emotional win for them, right? Defense especially rallied for their new head coach in Gerard Mayo. I think Seattle's a better football team. I think they win on the road this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take Geno Smith against the New England defense. Probably isn't going to sustain this top five
No.
level. And we still have yet to see Ryan Grubb really take advantage of these three receiver sets and really get into his bag. I mean, New England's, it's going to be tough, but again, I don't think the New England offense is going to be able to do anything. A lot of good starting field position. Maybe we see more field goals out of Jason Myers. And so let's go see it.
I'm actually going to go New England here. Uh, just because I don't love Seattle and I hate the Patriots also. But we're just gonna go with the AFC East, I guess, other than the Dolphins.
I did not have that on my bingo card today, that you'd pick the other two AFC East teams.
Yeah, I mean, if their defense stays legit, I mean, they could essentially beat anyone.
Battle in the
Probably not anyone.
NFC East, we have the New York Giants versus the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels ran good. I mean, he did exactly what we probably thought he would in his first game, whereas the Giants offense was absolutely inept. I still have just like this much faith in Brian Dable to where I will take the New York Giants here. And they'll get a couple more during the course of the season, but both of these teams are very, very bad.
And that's also why I'm taking the Giants. Uh, I just think everything's still too new in Washington. Maybe if this matchup later in the season, maybe I take the Commanders and it is in DC at FedEx Field. No. Or technically Landover, Maryland, whatever. I'm taking the Giants. I just at some point they're going to win a game early that they shouldn't. This might be one of them.
I'm going to take Commanders. My uncle Paul's a Commanders fan, been through and through, and it's time for Jay Daniels to get his first win in the NFL. So
Good old Paul, Mr. Phil Dunphy himself.
that's right, baby.
Chargers in Carolina. Talk about an easy start to the Jim Harbaugh era. After you got a very inept Raider team a week ago, you get a team that's somehow worse in the Carolina Panthers. Chargers win big, despite probably not putting up a crazy number of yards and stats. I think Carolina's that bad
Carolina's
again.
front, yeah, their defense is pretty bad. The bigger question here isn't between LA and Carolina. It's between J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins had all the big explosives in that first week, but I think that Greg Roman still probably trusts Gus a little bit more because he's seen more out of him. So I don't trust either of those guys in fantasy because I don't know which one's going to go off, but I do trust the Chargers getting the win in the score sheet at the end of the game.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chargers. Panthers are bad, and my little brother's that's his favorite team from the Cam Newton era, but they're not good. Uh, and he's going on his mission to North Carolina, so it's kind of meant to be, but they are not great.
The fandom's meant to be. The team is not. This team is anything but meant to be
Right.
this year. Yeah.
Next up, it's the Browns versus the Jags. Look, no one wants to root for Deshaun Watson, but he's probably not as bad as we saw last week, and the defense is still borderline incredible. I'm going to take the Browns.
I'm going Cleveland as well. I think their defense is much better than what Miami gave at Jacksonville a week ago, and Jacksonville still didn't look great offensively. Really bad fumble by Travis Etienne. Even if Myles Garrett, who's now on the injury report, doesn't play, I just think Cleveland's defense is good enough to get this win.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cleveland as well. I mean, their defense is essentially the same from last year, and their defense looks legit. And I don't know. I think I'm going to go, Brown Town.
Vegas on the road. They're in Baltimore. Things get worse for Las Vegas. Ravens, this is the highest spread of the week. Ravens are a 9-point favorite at home for good reason. Sucks to see Kyle Van Noy, who made some very interesting statements about the Chiefs training room and athletic trainers and doctors. He kind of crapped on them on his own podcast. By the way, shout out to Kyle Van Noy for joining the podcasting world. McCoy and Van Noy, what a great podcast that's been. But yeah, no Kyle Van Noy. Ravens are still going to get it done, though.
Yeah, the Ravens would have to be without a lot more like probably 20 more starters in order for me to get close to picking the Raiders in this one. I'm going to take Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going to go Ravens as well. And the fact that I think Derrick Henry's back for revenge this year to show the people that he's still got it.
Tanner, Rams versus your Cardinals. And I will be taking the LA Rams.
Yeah, this should be a fun game. This is going to be really interesting. Arizona looked better than I think people were expecting, and I feel like LA looked about what we were expecting them to look like this year on Sunday. Bummer, no Puka Nakua, as he was officially put on IR. We briefly discussed that on Monday's show. But I'm glad I didn't go to this game because this is one of the cheaper Arizona home games this year. I'm going the Rams in a close game. I just, again, Arizona's not there yet, but still showing signs of improvement.
This is the one that's going to put me over the top and pick them. I'm picking the upset. I'm going AZ. Uh, I think they're going to get a win. Um,
They
the
are
Rams are
favored.
good, but I think they can. Oh, they're favored. Never
Arizona,
mind. I'm not.
Arizona's a 1 point favorite.
Wow. Well, I'm going to go Arizona then. Um, just because Puka Nakua got hurt.
Cole, you did my team. Let me do yours. Pittsburgh, 2.5 point favorite in Denver. Denver looked like what we thought they were going to look like. Pittsburgh kind of looked like what we thought they would look like a week ago.
They are who we thought they were.
I was waiting for it. Uh, it's still early in the season, and all logic is telling me to take the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game, that TJ Watt is going to feast like he's never feasted before. This is my upset of the week. I'm taking the Denver Broncos for some random reason. I just think Denver's also going to get a wonky win early in the season. It's going to give some false hope, which is really unfortunate, but things happen, and I think Denver gets a surprising win this week in a weird way. Let me be very clear. It's going to be a very weird game.
Yeah, I mean, the Mike Tomlin Steelers are known to do this. They will drop a really bad game against a really bad team. I don't know if Denver so far is that really bad team. Like, this is still just a rookie quarterback. It's not one that everyone is just overwhelmingly taking the Steelers for, right? I'm going to pick my battles. I'm going to pick that game eventually for the Steelers. Don't worry. But this time against a rookie quarterback that only throws, between 5 yards and -5 yards of the line of scrimmage, that's where the Steelers are pretty strong. Patrick Queen's going to be able to control the middle of the field in a way that Steelers linebackers weren't last year, and also just TJ Watt.
He's the
He
best
had
player in
the
football.
game of the year just last week, and I think he'll play a little bit less rush and a little bit more controlling that screen game and the short pass game. I'd expect him, in coverage a little bit more, which might surprise people. He won't get, 14 quarterback hurries, but he is going to impact the game still, and I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
This is the hardest one for me. Uh, I feel like Tanner, I want to pick Pittsburgh, but I also feel like they're gonna, like you said, drop one. Um, I'm actually gonna go with the Broncos. Let's ride.
This is this is going to be the short pass game of the year between Justin Fields and Bo Nix. No passes being thrown further than 5 yards down the field. Although Bo Nix might actually throw in the middle of the field, which is not a good thing for Denver.
Who's gonna have
Like
more
Cole said,
completions to the other team is the question.
duh.
See, but Minka's guarding the deep middle of that field for Pittsburgh. Justin Fields doesn't have to be accurate. He just has to get it in the general zip code of George Pickens, and he'll come down with at least two that you just wouldn't believe that he could. So the
Yeah,
only two times he throws it deep, Pickens will be on the other end of it.
Steelers defense is hard to pick against.
Also in the AFC North, the Cincinnati Bengals trying to come off of a disappointing first week of the season against, doesn't get easier. It's Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm picking Kansas City because Cincinnati in September, I will just make a rule from now on. As long as Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow are there, I'm just not going to pick them for the whole month and then see what happens.
Look, Joe Burrow might be the Kermit Slayer, if you will. It ain't happening. Kansas City and Kansas City big. Both teams could not be heading in more opposite directions after week one.
Yeah, Bengals look bad, like pretty bad. I'm definitely going with Kansas City. You can't not pick them.
For the record, I'm not out. Like, once we get to the first week in October, the Bengals could be 0-4 and going, like, if this game was played just a couple weeks later, I might pick them.
Sure.
It's just Cincinnati doesn't show up.
They don't. They never do. In the month of September. He's right. Sunday Night Football. Last year's offensive rookie of the year against who many think this year's offensive rookie of the year could be. It definitely is not the case after week one, but it's Chicago at Houston. Texans a 6-point favorite. The Bears defense we talked about on our Monday episode, much better than we were expecting. I still think Houston gets the job done. I think CJ Stroud just is simply going to show Caleb Williams how it's done. Still very early in the career of Caleb Williams, so I'd take Houston.
And I want to pick Caleb Williams. I want to see it happen sooner than later, but I think D'Amico Ryans in prime time is not the spot to do it. So I'm
Nope.
taking Houston. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like Caleb Williams is gonna have one of those coming out games, and having it be in prime time is tempting, but this early and against that defense, it's tough.
The amount of weapons that the Texans have, I have to go with the Texans. Uh, Joe Mixon looked so good, and he's not even the star of their team, I would say. Uh, so I'm going to go Texans. And the Bears, they need some more offense to beat a team like the Texans.
See, I'm glad you brought up Joe Mixon. I think those Joe Mixon numbers were a little inflated, and I would guess him. I don't know what different sports betting sites have put his over under after going like 120 or whatever it was in week one. I'd say he's going to go under 50 against the Chicago defense. I don't think Houston's
Mm.
going to move the ball on the ground that
It's
well,
it's
Mm.
but
weird because I don't
they've
think
got
he had a
CJ Stroud to
run.
pivot too.
I don't think he had a run like over like 15 yards or something like that. Like it wasn't. None of his runs were like big runs. They were just all like 8 to like 12 yards in there.
Which that's a successful run every time, so it makes sense they kept doing it. But yeah, it's that was a little inflated just by the game situation, and I don't think they're going to be in that kind of a game against Chicago. But I still pick Houston, probably by a couple touchdowns. And finally, Monday, it's Atlanta and the statue Kirk Cousins versus Philadelphia
Oof.
and one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the league, Jalen Hurts. I'm going to take Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm going Eagles too. I think getting that win in Brazil was really good for their culture, right? To travel that far and have that good of a plane ride home instead of having the doom and gloom that Green Bay had a week ago. And yet I still pick the Packers, but that's neither here nor there for this pick. Philly's just a better team. I think they filled some holes that they really needed to fill. Like that's one great thing about Howie Roseman. He is not afraid to fill the gaps that his team has. He's not afraid to go spend. He's not afraid to say, you're not good enough, you're out. And it pays off for Philadelphia. That's why they're able to reload so quickly. And it's a lesson Atlanta is trying to follow. They've made some aggressive moves. I'm really worried that this is the Monday night game and I have Kyle Pitts again in Guillotine League. Even though
Banner and his Kyle Pitts.
I have had Kyle Pitts all 3 years in the Guillotine League. And it was an auto draft situation this time. But even looking at it, I still would have taken Kyle Pitts because this is my last year taking Kyle Pitts, regardless of if he's good or not. Uh, Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So we're going to find out Monday night.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles. Uh, they're, I mean, they look way better, and their offense and defense looks better than Atlanta's offense and defense. So unless there's a major upset, that would be probably one of the more surprising ones to me.
There were 10 games out of the 16 on our bye-less slate that we all three picked the same team. Surely, like 3 of those are going to go the wrong way for us,
Sure.
right?
I would think so.
Yeah,
This is a weird week. I was at lunch with our good friend Joe Williams today, and he is in our pick'em contest that a friend pick'em, and he was saying he's like there were a lot of what seemed like obvious games this week, and I agreed. Like there are some really good teams playing some teams that are either very vanilla or very not good, but that's the beauty of football, right? We're going to see some upsets on
and the
Sunday.
beauty of the NFL, I feel like they the good teams tend to drop these sort of games. So
Well, they're the best athletes in the world. Every team is good if you really look at it from a perspective of having the best athletes in the world. I don't think people appreciate that enough.
It's also week 2, and we don't know who the
Yeah.
good teams are. We're going to, when it gets to week 17, 18, however many there are nowadays, like we're going to look back and say, oh yeah, of course, freaking New Orleans beat Dallas. Dallas ended up not being good, and New Orleans was. But a really bad example because I can't see that. But like, there's got to be one of those on this schedule, right?
Maybe it's Chicago and Houston. Maybe it's Cincinnati surprising us as Kansas City takes us. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe the Panthers beat the Chargers. I mean,
Maybe Sam Darnold's good.
maybe Sam Darnold is good. Who knows?
He's just
Brant,
been, I will say he's been in bad situations.
sure. You can say that
For the
about
Jets.
you can say
Doesn't
that
get
about any
worse.
quarterback that's played for the Panthers or the Jets, which Sam Darnold has played for both.
Baker Mayfield falls into that category a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair. Well, Brant, appreciate you, my friend, joining us. May God guide you in your quest with your picks this week. Good luck tonight. Big
Yeah.
game tonight. Prime time. Literally Amazon Prime time.
Yep.
Best of luck, my friend. Appreciate you joining us.
Hey, it was a good time. Good time.
Cole, thank you, my friend.
Always.
We'll recap this Monday night for you folks. Appreciate you tuning in to Wilk and Wiss, your bi-weekly update on Utah athletes of the National Football League. This is for Brant Stevens and Cole Wissinger. I'm Tanner Wilkinson. We'll see you all Tuesday morning.